This is Baltron for the Nintendo Famicom, published by Toei Animation and released in Japan in 1986. Baltron is a side-scrolling space shooter that has all the parts for a great shooter, but overall it ends up feeling like it falls short. I know we're talking the Nintendo Famicom and this was the mid-80s, so there are limits, but this was the Nintendo NES era, and there are some great shooters out there that fall into the same game category. I picked up this cartridge for only a couple of dollars near the beginning of the summer, and I didn't feel like I was putting myself out on a limb, because for $5 to $10, I think most games are worth a chance. This is one of those Famicom games that never received a United States release on the NES, and based on what I've seen, I think it could have been something that was released stateside. It's not a great game, but I think it probably would have sold enough to make it worthwhile. I mean, there's already English text in the game itself, so why it never actually made it overseas? It's a good question. So Baltron does have a story that explains what's going on, although it's not really needed. If you load up the game and you don't start it, you wait on the loading screen for a few seconds, eventually you're going to get some scrolling text to explain what it is that's going on. Not exciting to me, but I do appreciate the effort. I think I see a lot of different games piled together in Baltron. It certainly feels a little bit like Gradius or Life Force, and I actually wish it was a lot more like them. But I think more directly than that, this game really feels like it's a Defender clone. There are direct connections to Defender. I think especially on the Atari 2600. There are just a variety of things that remind me of that. Some of the smaller enemies on some of the levels, they look like they're from the Atari 2600 version, these little dots. You also have an enemy radar, although here, it's on the top of the screen. Your ship is the basic shape that you have in Defender, and you can not only fly left to right, but you can turn and fly right to left. In this instance, though, going back and forth, it seems to have very little benefit, and I honestly find it much easier to just go in one direction. You also have a smart bomb, which is just like Defender, and you can warp away in an emergency. Another major mechanic from Defender. Although the warp here, it takes you to a subscreen, and it looks different for a moment. It's you sort of flying off into space. It's a nice touch, and it's definitely a better feeling than the sort of chaos that happens when you use this in the Atari 2600 version. In that version, you just disappear and just randomly appear elsewhere, and it's kind of fast and crazy. If you use your smart bomb, or the warp, it's going to take away some of your energy meter. As you would imagine, running out of energy is a bad thing. But there are also places to replenish your energy. I think the problem is, it's just hard to locate them. Usually in a game like this, I think, you need to be very aware of what your power-ups look like. Otherwise, you're not going to know to grab them. For Baltron, I had a really hard time trying to figure out exactly what it was I should try to pick up, versus what I should be trying to shoot apart. These energy recharges, they're not obvious. They also did something weird with the extra lives that you find here. There are these little koala icons. I don't know the significance here. I mean, I appreciate getting an extra life in a game, of course. But seeing koalas in space? It's just a little strange. I think the general controls, they're also a little odd. The A button fires, and the B button doesn't do anything by itself. B and down will drop a smart bomb, and B and up will do your warp. But it's a little strange that B by itself doesn't do anything. Figured it should have done something. Even if it just dropped the missiles that you're currently firing. Right now the missiles are tied to your A button with your regular fire. It's a little weird. The game handles okay, I suppose. You can also speed up or slow down as you fly, although I'm not sure if this is actually a beneficial mechanic. If you go too fast, which you can do really easy, you put yourself in crashing danger. And once you hit your desired speed anyway, I find myself just not pushing it. I don't usually move forward or backwards very much in this game. I think if the game just kept you at a steady pace, like Gradius or Life Force, I think it would have felt far better to play. There's also no changing your offensive fire, it seems. There are no upgrades to your main cannon or the missiles that you're shooting. That feels like a total waste. It would have been so much better if you could upgrade and change your weapons to lasers or, I don't know, different shaped projectiles maybe. That'd be great. At first I thought the music here was reasonable, but then after a while, after I was playing this, I realized it was just a loop, and it's not a good enough loop to want to listen to it endlessly. What seemed okay at first, it really became an annoyance for longer sessions. I guess I would call this one of those turn the volume down games. There is some variety in the level designs. It's not a ton, but there are some terrain differences as you're flying around, and certain areas feel a bit more claustrophobic than others. Even with this variety, it still feels a bit plain overall. And I think that might be the best description I have for this game. It's plain overall. Maybe not bad for a few bucks, but it's definitely nothing that I'd consider ground-shattering. Well, that's all I have today for Baltron for the Nintendo Famicom. Thanks for stopping by to take a look, and please feel free to like and subscribe and all that good stuff if you like the channel. Hope to catch you on another video.